Good day, class. Our topic for today is all about imperialism. Now, let's define what is imperialism. Imperialism is a stronger nation seeks to dominate a weaker nation politically, economically, and socially. That, for me, is a definition of imperialism. Imperialism broken down into two periods. Number one, the old imperialism. European established colonized in America, India, Southeast Asia, Africa, and China. European power was limited. Next, we have the new imperialism. US, Japan, and industrialized nations of Europe become more aggressive in expanding into other lands. Because on the mainly Asia and Africa, declining empires and wars left them vulnerable. Now, let's see what is the cause of imperialism. Number one is the Industrial Revolution caused a need for resources to fuel industrial production in Europe and United States. Where would be these resources came from? Africa, Asia, Latin America. Next is economic competition between European nations. New markets to sell their goods, the need of the European nations to add the colonized to their empires as a measure of the national greatness. Next is the growing racism, or the belief that our race was superior to another because they were more technologically advanced. Many Europeans as Americans felt they had a right to dominate the people of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Next, we have the social Darwinism, the idea that those who were fittest for survival and success were superiors to others. Because of the social Darwinism, Europeans felt they had the right and duty to bring progress to other nations. The next is what enabled imperialism. So what are those? Number one is European technological superiority, including here the machine gun. The next is the improvement in transportation to end within Asian and African colonies. Medical advances such as quinine, which is protected. The next is the European from design disease, malaria, disunity among their ethnic groups in Africa. Next is imperialism in Africa. Berlin Conference in 1884 and 1885, European nations meet to lay down rules of the division of Africa. Any European nation could claim land in Africa by telling the others and showing they could control the area. Europeans paid no attention to the ethnic and linguistic division in Africa when dividing it amongst themselves. So the next one is the impact of imperialism in Africa. First, we have the positive. Local welfare, reduce, improve sanitation, hospital lead to increase lifespan, school lead to increase the literacy and economic growth. That is the positive, the imperialism in Africa. One is the negative. So the negative are loss of land independence, men forced to work in European-owned mines and on European-owned farms, contempt for traditional culture and admiration in Europe. Yeah.
Do you know the game Pac-Man? It's an old arcade game where a small yellow Pac-Man tries to win by eating as many little dots as it can. This week we're learning about African imperialism, which is surprisingly similar to a game of Pac-Man. But instead of a little yellow Pac-Man trying to eat the most dots, African imperialism was a competition between European countries trying to control the most land in Africa. To them, the race to control Africa was a competition. Whoever won the most land was the best country. From 1880 to 1914, European countries like France, Germany, Great Britain, and Italy gained control of 90% of Africa. They competed against each other, trying to conquer the most land and control the most natural resources, sort of like Pac-Man. In 1884, European powers met together in Berlin at an event known as the Berlin Conference. At the conference, European nations, led by German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, created rules for the partition or division of Africa. At the Berlin Conference, European powers agreed to split up Africa between them, cutting it up like a cake. Lines were drawn, divisions were made, and by the end of the conference, the African continent had been split into pieces and divided among the imperial powers of Europe. Italy, France, Portugal, Germany, Spain, and Great Britain all controlled sizable chunks of land, and only 10% of Africa was still controlled by actual Africans. These two countries were Liberia and Ethiopia. There were two reasons that Europeans were able to conquer more of Africa during this time period. The first one was a natural ingredient called quinine. Quinine allowed Europeans to protect themselves against malaria, which was a disease prominent in West Africa. The second invention was the steamboat, which allowed Europeans to move further inland on rivers without using wind power or water currents to propel them. The Suez Canal was a passageway for boats dug through land near Egypt. The Suez Canal was important because it allowed Europeans to sail to Asia without sailing around Africa. It was controlled by the British, who then took over Egypt as one of their colonies.